Good morning, Spiritual Life Center. So wonderful to see all of you here. We want you to know that your soul is welcome here. We have Carol Manson with us today.
How y'all doing today?
Yeah, Carol. And we're going to sing about your soul. Welcome here.
That's what we're going to talk. We're going to have a little conversation, y'all. Hey.
Here we go.
I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. In the right place. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. In my soul. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome. And your soul is welcome. All our souls are welcome here. Right place at the right time. I am just where I'm meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm meant to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I'm getting the message. Soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome. I am getting the message. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome right here. Come on, get your hands up. My soul is welcome here. Come on, Carol, take it away. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome
Well, good morning, Reverend Deborah. Good to see you and everyone else, as all souls are welcome here.
Good morning, Reverend James. It's so wonderful to be together. And we know, and we greet you in the name of all that is good, all that is holy, and all that is sacred. And in the warm and loving energy of Spiritual Life Center. Spiritual Life Center honors all people worshiping in temples, mosques, churches, stone circles, and of course, the beautiful temples of nature, because we know there is no space that God does not grace. If you're with us for the very first time today, either online or with us in person, we especially want to welcome you, because we know that you are not here by accident. Every one of us is here by
Divine appointment.
And we're so excited to see you with us today. And we also get really excited when you silence your electronic devices. And please refrain from flash photography during the service.
Well, before we go into our prayer this morning, we just wanted to acknowledge, a special individual that's gone on to the other side of the veil, our beloved JG. Has made his transition. But I think in some way, shape, or form, he is still here with us. And he's probably in the corner somewhere looking at us right now. And we're going to acknowledge him and have a send-off at 12:45 today, immediately after the service. So we invite you to be here, and we're going to sing. The choir is going to be here to sing God Is. I think that was one of his favorite songs, just to acknowledge his presence and his impact that he's had on so many people's lives. So with that, let us take a moment to connect with his presence. And we bring our beloved JG into this energy field right with us now, for he has influenced us and will continue to influence us as he goes on the other side of the veil. For we remember that each of us here have a divine purpose, and we can fulfill that purpose to make a positive difference in other people's lives as well as the very planet in which we live. Indeed, as a community, this is why we are here. This is our purpose, to help individuals transform their lives and be a transforming force to make a positive difference in our world. And as we make this presence the activity of our awareness, looking at individuals who have served as models of our possibilities, then we are lifted up to do our part. For all of us have a contribution to make. And whenever anyone is lifted up in any way, shape, or form, we all are, because we are one in the Spirit. We are connected on that soul level. And so we go forth this morning recognizing that all of us matter. All of us have something to contribute. All of us are expressions of the presence and the power and the love of God itself. And as we express that to the highest and best that we can, we anchor a little bit more of heaven on earth and begin to create a world that works for all. It is done. We are grateful as we go forth doing our part to manifest and radiate the all good. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. Well, we mentioned our purpose of transforming lives and make a positive difference in the world. And, our mission is to help us augment that. And I invite you to join in as we affirm our mission statement together. To transform lives as we love, serve, and remember. And we carry that out as we take these principles that we can use every single day and make them the activity of our awareness in thought, word, and action. Again, let us affirm them together. God is absolute good and everywhere present. People are inherently good. Thoughts create our experiences. Prayer and meditation are how we connect with God. We must take action. Well, one of the things that we do is to bring our consciousness and our action to bring a better world is participating in what we call the Season for Nonviolence. And the Season for Nonviolence is a period of time between the anniversaries of the death of Dr. Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi. And both of them brought principles to help us bring forth a world that is free from violence and to help fulfill our potential as spiritual beings. So one of the things that we do during this season is have a member of our community share one of the principles on the Season for Nonviolence and give their interpretation how that may have applied to them. So this morning we have Patrick Furlong, who's a member of our community, also a member of our Board of Trustees, to share our reading today on the Season for Nonviolence. So welcome, Patrick.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Whoa, these lights are bright. I'm Patrick Furlong. I'm a member of the Board of Directors, grateful member. So today, I will listen with an open heart. Today, I remember that the healing for all violence on the planet is authentic communication. I remember that in every situation and circumstance, I am the ears of God. I release attachment to my opinions and practice listening without judgment in all my interactions. I open my heart to hear the true message I am being given, rather than just hearing words. Today, I remember that the voice of God lives in the heart of every person. And I honor all communication as sacred. I listen to that voice in my exchanges with others. Today, I listen with an open heart, grateful for the miracle of language. So I was asked to give a little interpretation of what it means to me, and I discovered that there's actually 9 types of violence and abuse. Physical violence, that's I think what we think of most. Sexual violence, emotional violence, psychological violence, spiritual violence, cultural violence, verbal abuse. And I want everybody to remember that gossip can be a form of violence. Financial abuse, and finally, neglect. So I hope that we just all keep our minds and our hearts open. When we see any kind of these types of violence, we reject them. We reject them in ourselves, and we reject them and point it out when we see it in others. We can do that lovingly, but we can do that reflectively. We can do that honestly with honest communication. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick, for sharing with us.
And the first Sunday of each month, Shirley Brown brings us flowers, the bouquets that she makes herself. So we always thank Shirley very much for the beautiful flowers on our altar. Who attended Notes and Jokes last year? Okay, well, there's lots of room for more people to come. Notes and Jokes is an in-person and online benefit concert. It happens this Friday from 7 to 9 p.m., and we are proud to partner with Musical Partners in Healthcare. It's an organization that brings music to medical and hospice settings. Ann Roach and Sally Sion are certified music MPIH practitioners, and our Larry is on the way to becoming certified, and so, yes. So they will be here along with some other people, and this is intended to raise awareness and needed funds for this music ministry, and it's a fun musical review, which will feature Anne and Sally and Larry and some other of the musicians. And of course, there's going to be a lot of jokes. You can count on Sally for that, for sure. So you can get your tickets at the hub or online. So get them today.
And on Wednesday, February the 22nd, we're going to once again offer our Phoenix Rising and Ash Wednesday service. So we mark the start of the Lenten season together as we release the past with the burning bowl ritual that we do, and we're going to affirm our connection to the divine, and with chanting, with sacred ash on our foreheads, and we each will take away our Phoenix Rising coin to remind us of the truth of who and what we are as expressions of the divine. So join Reverend Deborah Phillips as well as Janae Marth for this annual releasing and remembering, and music will be by our one and only Larry Shiflett. So we thank you for being there and invite you to be part of that experience. One of the things that we do here at Spiritual Life Center is to help make a difference in our world, and we start with our community. And we have a community giving a program in which we partner with those individuals and organizations that are making a difference in our local community. And so we're going to have Carol Manson to come forward to introduce our community giving partner. And so at this time, we invite Carol to introduce our community giving partner.
Hey, good morning, y'all.
Good
How
morning.
y'all doing out there? Listen, I have had the distinct pleasure of going to many celebration arts performances, and I know they do a lot more in education and other things with work with children. And so I want to introduce you to a board member. Her name is Nicole, and she's going to fill you in, but definitely do not miss performances at Celebration Arts. It's a joy and an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, Carol. Grand Rising, good morning. My name is Nicole Manker. I am the treasurer. I serve on the board for Celebration Arts and the newly appointed interim executive director for the organization. And Celebration Arts is extremely grateful for not only the nomination, but just being awarded and feeling the connection to the community ties really strengthened through this offering that you are awarding us with, because it'll allow us to move forward with programming, with promotion, productions, and just to be able to elevate what it is that we've been offering to the community and more mindfully, and staying in touch with our mission, vision, and organizational goals, like as they're set forward. A little history on Celebration Arts. It started as Celebration Dance Company, which was founded by James Wheatley in 1976. And it later transitioned under the umbrella of Celebration Arts, where all arts were welcomed in 1986. So we have been around for 37 years. Yeah. And Celebration Arts is a 501c3 nonprofit educational and performance organization providing performing arts training and opportunities to underserved communities, particularly African American residents in the Sacramento metropolitan area. We provide drama, dance, music production classes for all ages. We do have kids programs as well as adults, and really allowing aspiring Black artists and communities to experience the arts and where they are the central subjects, and being able to also just embody all of that work in that way. Exploring American history, ancestral heritage, contemporary times through Black perspectives. And the mission brings renewed value to our community's work, social environments, and personal lives. Our next production actually is direct from Death Row, the Scottsboro Boys. Again, working through, education through as well as with the entertainment. And so with this, we'll be able to definitely move forward with some of our expanded, like I said, marketing and expanding our branding and reimagining, because when I joined the board, I really was excited about reintroducing all of the arts back into Celebration Arts with the same way that we do with our theater productions. As someone who's one of about 30 people in the world who's certified to teach Catherine Dunham's technique, the fact that it started as a dance company is very near and dear to my heart. I don't know, I'm just excited about moving everything forward and growing this. So I greatly, again, wholeheartedly just want to thank you for your offering to our organization, so we can just keep moving forward even faster than I thought.
So, Nicole, on behalf of Spiritual Life Center, we offer this $1,000 gift to support you and the organization that you're doing and all the work that you're doing for our community. So thank you so much for your presence and your consciousness.
Thank you so much.
And of course, we remind you that there are many activities that foster transformation in our lives here at SLC. So check out our weekly small groups and other activities. And to discover all the happenings at SLC, you can go to our website, or if you're here in person, you can go out to the courtyard, look at the bulletin board, or go chat with the ladies at the hub, and they can tell you all kinds of interesting things.
Well, this time...
About
Okay.
SLC.
I was thinking, do I need to be eavesdropping on this conversation? Well, at this time, I invite any of our board members that are present, as well as our chaplains, to please stand. And we appreciate your contribution to our community. And the chaplains do a very important work here at Spiritual Life Center. They hold the high watch and the prayer consciousness for our community, not only on Sundays, but each day throughout the week. They're wearing the white stoles, and if you have a prayer need, they're more than happy to pray with you immediately after the service in the courtyard. And if there's something you just want to celebrate, they're there to just add the energy to whatever you have in your life that you want to celebrate as well. So we thank them for their consciousness and the prayer that they bring to our community. And our board members do very important work behind the scenes that often folks do not see. They bring their time, their talent, and their skills and energy and consciousness to our community to help us move forward. And if you have any questions you'd like to ask of our board members, they'll be more than happy to answer them. And we thank them for their contribution and the energy that they bring to Spiritual Life Center and all the contributions that they have. So we thank you, and we appreciate you so much.
We love to welcome our newcomers. So in a moment, we will ask you to raise your hand. But first, we want you to know that there are many ways to become connected at Spiritual Life Center. And one of the ways to do that is to fill out the welcome card. The welcome card is available online, so you can go to our website, fill out the card and submit it, and we'll get back to you. If you're here in person, raise your hand and keep it up so we can find you. We will give you the card, fill it out, take it to the courtyard, to the welcome table, and there's a special gift and a very warm welcome for you.
So at this time, if anyone's here for the very first time, we just invite you to raise your hand. Any first timers we have there, just keep your hand up nice and high, and we'll have someone to give you the welcome card that if you choose, you can complete, and we can keep you informed as to what's taking place here in our community. And we behold the magnificence that you are. We affirm you and know that you are a magnificent expression of the Spirit of the living God. And we see you moving from where you are to your heart longs for you to be. In any way we can be of support to you, we support you in that. And with that, I invite folks here not only to greet anyone who may be new, but greet a neighbor or friend or stranger and just say, you are marvelous and glad you are here.
All right, please stay standing and we're going to sing this beautiful.
That's right. We're going to sing our group song by Ricky Byers.
All good.
All good, all good. All good, all good. Holy, holy. All good, all good. Holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart, and my soul. Let me know all is good. Holy, holy. Oh, Lord.
Let's take a nice deep breath together. And as we move into our contemplative portion of our service, we're going to start by speaking our vision statement together. Spiritual Life Center is a loving, vibrant family that welcomes home all people and accepts everyone, no exceptions, weaving ancient spiritual traditions with emerging wisdom. We cultivate a spiritual deepening with the divine, each other, and our planet. And to further center ourselves in this truth, we'll sing this beautiful chant. The words are very simply, I am remembering who I am.
I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am.
I remember. I remember. I remember. Become quiet now. Turn within. And open up your heart and float with the music. And come daydream with me. Allow your consciousness to drift high, high up into the sky and settle on a cloud. Cradled in the sparkling mist of a cloud, you are safe and warm. A blush of light flickers at the center of your chest. And as you take a breath, that light grows into a ball. And with another breath and yet another, your light grows and glows until it fills your body, your torso, your legs, your arms, your neck, your head. Your cloud curves around you in a protective embrace. And as you sink into this cushy environment, think about what may be concerning you in this moment, either sorrow or fear, and then gather it into your hand. And now hold your hand in front of you and offer this prayer. Oh, Holy Spirit, take fear and sorrow from me. Transmute it into courage. Transmute it into strength. Transmute it into understanding. Transmute it into joy. Transmute it into love. Holy incandescence moves through you, healing you, transforming sorrow and fear into courage, strength, understanding, joy, and love in the quiet. You are purified. You are holy radiance. Turning your attention to earth, your home. Offer another prayer. O Holy Spirit, take sorrow and fear from the earth. Transmit it into courage. Transmute it into strength. Transmute it into understanding. Transmute it into joy. Transmute it into love. As you extend your light, the cloud shimmers. Rays and waves of light flow down, immersing each country, every ocean, all beings, all plants, the very atoms of the earth. Sorrow and fear dissolve, transmuted into courage, strength, understanding, joy, and love in the silence. Through your prayer, you become both healed and healer. In this moment, you are fully aware of who you have come here to be. You know that as divine order flows through you, so it flows into your world. Take a breath or two as you return to your physical body and receive this blessing. Oh, my beloved, the power of your words, your prayer, is unlimited. To pray is to love. By your words, you transmute sorrow and fear. By your words, you transform yourself and your part in the world. By your prayer, you know oneness. By your words, you become the essence of love. And by your prayer, you remember who you really are. Remember this always.
thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Be careful what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there, and every thought becomes a prayer. My words are prayers, and I am always praying. My words are prayers. I'm careful what I'm saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and I know that God is always there, and every thought becomes a prayer.
And for those of you who haven't been here for a while, this is Dominic Salazar on the bass and Dana Wendell on the drums. And of course, Russell Brown on guitar. And Marie and you and me.
And of course, Paula Mandela that puts it all together. Well, there's a story about a journalist, and he was assigned to the Jerusalem bureau for his paper. And he had gotten an apartment that was overlooking the Wailing Wall, where people come to pray on a regular basis. And he had been there for several weeks. And he noticed after a while that whenever he looked down there, he saw a mature man who was coming there on a regular basis and praying vigorously. And that particular journalist was wondering whether there might be a story there. Maybe there's something there I can write about. And so he went down to the wall and he introduced himself to him. And he said to the gentleman, you come here every day from what I can observe, and what are you praying for? And the man replied, well, what am I praying for? Well, in the morning, I pray for world peace. And then I pray for the brotherhood of humankind. And then I may go home for a little while and I'll have a glass of tea, and then I come back and I pray for the eradication of illness and the eradication of disease from all of the earth. And the journalist, nevertheless, was taken by this man's sincerity, by his persistence. And he said to him, you mean you've been coming to this wall every day for these things? And the man nodded and said, yes. And the journalist asked him, well, how long have you been coming to the wall to pray for all these things you've been praying for every day? And the man reflected and thought about it for a moment, said, how long? Maybe 20, maybe 25 years. And the journalist was just amazed that he had that perseverance. And he asked him, well, how does it feel to come and pray every day for over 20 years for the things you've been praying for? How does it feel? And the old man said, well, and I'm just translating, roughly, he said, it feels like I'm talking to a freaking wall. Well, we don't want our prayers to feel that way. And I was saying he was doing more than that. It was something changing in his own awareness and his consciousness. But we don't want our prayers to be something that's to an unresponsive wall. We don't want our prayers to seem like it's going to an entity that is somewhere outside of ourselves and is somewhere not connected to us. But we know that, if we look at true prayer, and we heard Carol sing about it, and this is just an expansion of that. Prayer is not a supplication. It's not begging and wailing. It's not pleading or screaming loud, trying to get some God to be different. As I like to say, imagine if we were all praying to a God to get God to be different every single day. God would be twirling around doing all kinds of different things. We have a chaotic world. So it's not anything like that. It's not dropping our knees or sweating or gyrating and trying to get the universe to shift for us. I believe our highest prayer is not any of those things. But our highest prayer is getting in touch with the awareness that you and I already have what we are praying for. I think it's called behaving. What Austin Powers told, I don't know if he does those movies long back. I used to watch these Austin Powers movies. They're really silly. And he would say things like, yeah, baby. And he would say something like, behave. But really what he's talking about, behave. It's touching a state of being. We want to be something first. Because in that state of being, we realize that we have everything already. And that state unfolds as our life. So we're not trying to change the external world, which so many people try to do. We're not trying to change another person, which so many people feel it is their absolute duty to do. We're touching a state of being. And as I like to say, I was mentioning on a group, I was on Zoom, they were having a program, they asked me to be the speaker online, and they were talking about, their theme was sometimes you have not because you ask not. And I was pointing out the idea that, what we have to do is be something first. Once we be it, then we're able to see it. Years ago, there was a young man who had come to me and he was struggling, trying to find his purpose in life. Some people have that challenge, maybe in different stages of life. What am I here for? Because he said he felt lost and unfulfilled. So he started, to do what he thought God was wanting him to do. And he said, God, if you give me clarity and you let me know what my purpose is, my direction, then, I will give up all these things. I'll start partying and stop, whatever he's going to do. And that was his prayer. And after months of this kind of prayer, there was no change. Everything seemed to be the same. So he decided that he was going to act as if he had already gotten the answer. And he took his steps in alignment with what he thought that answer was and to his highest dreams, what Spirit has in store for him, even when he was unsure of what the outcome was going to be. And he found out that after he did this, it began to shape his way of thinking, his way of awareness, and he began to act with greater purpose. His pathway became clearer. And then seemingly out of the blue, he discovered his true passion and calling in life. You know, often our prayers are weak because the prayers are about negotiating what we want from the presence of God. What we want, when we want it. But the highest prayer is about shifting something in us, our awareness. And when we shift in our awareness, when we shift in our consciousness, seeming miracles begin to happen. They happen because we have gone outside our present paradigm. And a paradigm is just a fancy word for a way of thinking. You know, I think it was Ralph Waldo Emerson who said something to the effect that prayer is the contemplation of the facts of life from the highest point of view. And I think it's particularly relevant when we go through challenges. We all have challenges sometimes. And contrary to some belief that when people get into this teaching and, positive thinking and new thought, ancient wisdom teachings, that, we're not going to have challenges. But the reality is we're never going to have a challenge-free life. So when we're faced with challenges, when we're faced with difficulties, faced with setbacks, when we're faced with disappointments, we have to see it from a high point of view, and then we realize that the challenges show up for a reason. They're here to activate the hidden capabilities and capacities longing to emerge through us. And I think to set this in motion, this highest prayer vibration, we have to ask ourselves, what is the gift of growth in this challenge? What is it offering me? How can this challenge help me evolve my soul? I believe our highest prayer causes us to lean into the challenge and see it as an evolutionary trigger. It's like a grain of sand in an oyster that we see that a pearl is eventually created. And I think we're further moved to seeing things from the highest point of view or experience our highest prayer when we are asking empowering questions. And the questions want to be something like, what is God's idea for itself in my life in this situation? What expression of God is seeking to express in and as and through me? And I believe when we ask questions like that, we begin to catch glimpses and insights and signs in response. And we begin to activate something within us that whenever we ask those empowering questions. But oftentimes we stop that vibration from showing up when we ask disempowering questions. Disempowering questions, well, why me? What's wrong? Who's to blame? How can this get any worse in my life? Now, I always say, don't ever ask that question. You never want to ask that question because the universe being all-powerful and all-knowing, if you ask that question, it'll come back and say, if you want to know how things get worse in your life, here you go. Here you go. Understand that we get the answers that we get has been dependent upon the quality of the questions that we ask. If we ask how things get worse, we get answers from that low vibration part of us that thinks is separated from the all-knowing, solution-oriented universe. So we end up using the statement, ask and you shall receive. We see that in the Bible, ask and you shall receive. We can use that in a high way or a low way. Empowering questions and our highest prayers avail us to opportunities. They avail us to possibilities. They avail us to potential that is constantly surrounding us, bombarding us all of the time. So when we have a so-called problem, we realize it's an opportunity to grow so that we may become more and never, ever less than our true self. This month is Black History Month. And, I usually have some readings that I do throughout the month. And, I was fortunate, a friend of mine, actually congregant, Dr. Daniel, gave me a book, and so at least an excerpt from a book to read. And I started reading it, this weekend as I was preparing for the talk. And one of the articles about the book led me to actually go ahead and just get the Kindle so I can start reading it right now. But anyway, here's a synopsis of it, and I'm still kind of reading through it. There's a Sergeant Isaac Woodard, and he had just completed like 3 years or more of tour in the segregated unit of his army. And back in that day, he boarded a Greyhound bus in Augusta, Georgia. And that bus was going to take him home. But he had a heated exchange with, the bus driver. And when he went to the next town, he was forcibly removed from the bus, and he was later beaten and blinded by the police chief. And this was in 1946. And during that time, civil rights prosecutions, they hardly ever happened. But the president at that time, Harry Truman, insisted that his attorney general bring the charges. And that police chief was tried before an all-white jury in that courthouse before a Judge Wades Waring. There was little evidence to suggest that he was not guilty. In fact, all the evidence showed that he was guilty beyond any doubt at all. But he was acquitted. And Judge Waring had taken for granted all of his privilege he had had in his life up until that time. He was in that segregated South, but the blinding of that individual, Woodard, forced him to see differently. Something within him clicked, something within him transformed, and he began to re-examine his assumptions. He delved into the law and was awakened to a vast system of inequality that surrounded him during that time. And after that, he wrote several landmark civil rights decisions for years that followed, including a key decision that he wrote that was a dissent. He actually was on the losing side. But what he wrote was so powerful, it became a model for the Supreme Court's opinion of Brown versus Board of Education. But I say all of that because I believe that Judge Waring asked some empowering questions that challenged the status quo, that took a second look at his own beliefs. He re-examined his values, and he lived accord with the highest and best of what he knew himself deep down inside to be. Anyway, it's so far it's a very fascinating read, very well written as I'm reading it. But then if you're interested, it's I think it's called the Unexampled Courage. And it's the blinding of Sergeant Isaac Woodard and the awakening of a president, Harry Truman, and Judge Wades Waring. And it's written by Richard Gergel. Anyway, the judge, I think Waters, broke out of the box of limited thinking and the rules that governed the society at that time. I would say that most people, maybe myself at times, live in small box consciousness. And that requires a small box vaccine in order to eliminate small box living. And I think by asking empowering questions, which is a high prayer practice, it initiates a shift in our awareness, a shift in our consciousness, where seeming miracles actually happen. They happen outside the box, outside of our present paradigm. And that's the reason Albert Einstein said something to the effect, we can never solve a problem on the level of thinking that created the problem in the first place. We got to go beyond that. And that's what empowering question can do for us. That's what high prayer can do for us. And I think that's where the juice is. Asking empowering questions helps us follow the scriptural reference that says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, renewing of your heart. And I think that's what Judge Waring had done. He doesn't conform himself to the current reality. So when we see the news headlines on the internet that point about how bad things are, our highest prayer is to ask, what is my assignment to help see from the highest point of view? How can I lift my awareness? How can I see the truth behind the appearance? How can I see the possibilities and hold the space within my awareness? And then as a community, we realize that the news headlines simply inform us how to direct our prayers, how to transform our consciousness so that we can be that change that we want to see. Realizing whatever we see in our outer world, whether it's ourselves individually or collectively, is nothing more than an outpicturing of our soul, individually or collectively. What we see collectively in society is a collective group soul, but rather than change the external, which many people try to do, which is like trying to pray to an unresponsive wall, we change ourselves first and foremost. Shift our thinking, and then align ourselves with that consciousness so that we receive and be available to the seeming miracle based upon our actions. I think when we touch that state over and over again, something happens. I don't know if you ever had a magnificent manifestation from a prayer. I've had a couple in my life, and I've talked with other people, and conversations often come up about what a brilliant experience they had, how the prayer was answered. And they would talk about what happens just before the answer comes. That suddenly the worry seems to disappear. All the trying to figure it out with our rational mind stops. All the doing and trying to make it happen, it ceases. And instead, there's an awareness that takes place. That in the midst of the prayer, and suddenly they knew that all was well. That everything was going to be okay, and they released and they let go. And then it was right after that the demonstration may have happened. If they were looking for a job, they got it. They wanted some sort of physical change in their body, it began to operate a little better. There was a clarity in a relationship if it was in turmoil. There was some kind of insight that happened. And sometimes we may mistakenly think that those things that we saw show up was the answered prayer. But that's not what the answered prayer was. The real answered prayer was that moment of clarity, that moment of connection, that moment of sensing and feeling that the power and the presence and the love of God was the activity of our awareness. That is the moment. That's the moment we're going for. I always talk about, here in New Thought, we say, well, we try to be practical. And so I always like to leave a strategy that we can use. And one strategy we can use to get into that vibration of that highest prayer. And that strategy, and it works like wonders. Give up chronic complaining about life. If we're complaining about life, we're seeing through a glass darkly. And then we cannot see the possibilities. We cannot see the presence of God. I don't know about you, if you know some people who chronically complain. No one here that I'm sure does that. But the chronic complainer never gets to experience the ever-expanding good because they're not around long enough for the spiritual demonstration. They're uncomfortable when things are going well because the vibration may be too high. That's why they move around to find some things to complain about. We experience the highest vibration when we enter heaven, realizing it's a state of mind. And we bring it with us. We hang out with it. We go to God. We stand in God until it clothes itself and becomes visible. And those who do not go to God for God, sometimes they fight and they complain because the agents are perpetuating the very thing they do not want. In other words, whatever we energize with our energy, with our thoughts, with our words, it becomes more. So we don't want to do that. Well, I don't want to do that. I can't speak for anybody else. I have to stop that. I used to do that a lot. We want to be in a different vibration because that complaint is static on the line. And when you have static on the line, you can't even hear the good. You can't get the guidance that Spirit has for us. Because we might know all the spiritual principles, all the phrases and the affirmations. We may get up in the morning and look in the mirror and say, oh, I'm a wonderful child of God. God is everywhere present. Everything is good. But that conversation starts changing when people get around their peeps. Their core belief comes up and they talk about lack and limitation and wonder why all their prayers they've been uttering are not revealing themselves. So we want our prayers to be our old beliefs undoing. This is what the highest prayer is all about. We're not trying to change the outer. It's always, the other thing about this teaching is almost always is about us. It's always about that will of God being expressed through us. It's all about a vibration that we need to change so that God can come through us. And when we start doing this, the surface mind, when we start making that change, the surface mind will start coming up a little bit. It may start getting a little bit nervous. She praying again. She meditating again. She's starting to take that workshop again. She's watching that message on YouTube again. Let's distract him or her, and, because before they start remembering the truth. But when we pray in that high vibration, we can say, as they said in that scripture, get thee behind me, crazy thought. When they say get thee behind me, Satan, that means crazy thoughts. That's all it is, crazy thoughts. Get behind me. And we begin to eliminate the static that drowns out the voice of God, the energy of God, the all-knowingness of God. We eliminate a sense of separation between us and the Spirit of God. And we celebrate God in spirit and in truth in the only language it understands, and that's the language of consciousness. And when our consciousness is ready, the Spirit cannot deny us. And in an instant, in a twinkling of an eye, each and every prayer is answered in the most magnificent way. And we have the attitude of expectancy of God the good. And that, my friend, is the highest prayer that we can gauge in. Peace out. Well, like I said, at 12:45, we're going to have the choir to pay tribute to JG. I think we're calling that JG's send-off. And so we invite you to be part of that. And next week, I will be talking about the greatest love as we move into the Valentine's Day week or day. And so we invite you to be part of that as well. We appreciate your consciousness and presence. And for those who are online, we invite you to support Spiritual Life Center with your gift or your offering. And know that you can give in a couple of ways. You can text a gift by texting SLC Love, the 44321. SLC Love, the 44321. Or you can go to our website, slcworld.org, click the Donate tab, and you can give in other ways, including by mail. And for those who are present today, we invite you to participate in the flow and the principle of giving and receiving, and take your gift or your love offering, and you can symbolically raise it to the heavens, which is all good, knowing that whatever you give out, it always comes back to us, maybe in ways we never imagined, and perhaps in directions we never thought of. Yet we understand this, that we can never outgive the universe. We can never outgive God. And so not only do the recipients benefit, but those who give benefit, because you're expanding into this principle of giving and receiving. And so with that awareness, I invite you to take your gift, your love offering, and let's affirm this offertory blessing together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. Thank you, God.
Here we go. Hey. You got to accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative, and hang on to the affirmative, but don't mess with it, stay in between. You got to spread joy up to the maximum and bring gloom down to the minimum, and have faith or pandemonium liable to walk upon the scene. Now, to illustrate my last remark, Jonah in the well, Noah in the ark. What did they do just when everything looked so dark? Man, they said you got to accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative, and latch on to that affirmative, but don't you mess with me, start in between. the positive and eliminate the negative and latch on to that affirmative, but don't mess with Mr. In Between. Here we go. Positive and eliminate the negative and latch on to that affirmative, but don't mess with Mr. In Between. Oh, no, don't mess. Oh, child, I said, don't you mess. You better not mess. Don't mess with Mr. In Between. Don't mess with Mr. In Between. They gonna put me out of here.
Thank you for reminding us, don't mess with in between, as they say. You know, we want to deal with the lukewarm stuff. Say yay or nay. Take a position.
Don't mess with Mr. In Between. Huh?
Yes, don't do it. Yes. Well, we take this time to bless those who have blessed us with their gifts or offerings, both in person or online, knowing that it's going to bless the givers as well as the receivers, for providing a place for individuals to kickstart their own spiritual growth or continue their spiritual growth, to realize their divine potential as expressions of the Spirit of the living God. We also bless those who have left prayers in the prayer box, either today or throughout the week. And we recognize that all of us have challenges and difficulties along the way in life. Sometimes there are bumps along the road in this thing we call life. But as we raise our awareness in our talks, words, and actions, then we lift our vibration to be in tune with the divine answer that is always there for us. We've gone outside our own box of thinking and begin to vibrate into the thinking of God. So we think like the presence of God. We speak like the presence of God. And as we do, we attune to the answer. For we know that this presence that is beyond words says in so many words that before you call, I've already answered you. It has the answer to what our seeming dilemma may be. And so once we become one with the answer, a seeming miracle happens in our life and in our world. So we do our part knowing that it's already there waiting for us, for Spirit is with us always. For this and so much more, we're grateful and thankful as we go forth, manifesting, radiating the all good and anchoring the good that life has in store for each and every one of us. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. Ashe. At this time, I invite you to, before we do that, just know that after the service, we need folks to exit out for a little bit so they can get prepared for the choir and then come back in at around 12:45. Well, I'll let you know. But at this time, let's go ahead and affirm our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is. I am, and all is well. That's the truth. Let's sing our peace song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let it begin with me. Let there
Peace and blessings. See you in a few minutes for those that stick around. And you can also, if you can't stick around, you can find the link online too, because we're going to broadcast it live.